Welcome to latest News Blaster. The entertainment world fell silent this week as legendary filmmaker Martin Scorsese delivered one of the most emotional and unforgettable tributes of his career, a heartfelt farewell to the late Diane Ladd, the beloved actress whose passing has shaken Hollywood to its core. For decades, Diane Ladd was more than a performer. She was a force of nature, a woman whose depth, authenticity, and unyielding grace shaped generations of actors and filmmakers. From her breakout role in Alice, Doesn't Live Here Anymore, to her later performances in Wild at Heart and Rambling Rose, she stood as a pillar of cinematic truth. When news of her passing spread, it wasn't just a loss for Hollywood. It felt like the end of an era. But no one captured that feeling more poignantly than Scorsese himself. A somber morning in Hollywood. The morning of Diane Ladd's funeral was heavy with emotion. The sun barely broke through the overcast Los Angeles sky as black cars lined the street outside a quiet church in Beverly Hills. Friends, colleagues, and admirers gathered in silence, each carrying memories of a woman who had inspired them both personally and professionally. Inside, the air was thick with sorrow. Giant white lilies surrounded the casket, and a soft piano version of Moon River played as guests found their seats. Among them were Laura Dern, Diane's daughter, visibly holding back tears as she greeted friends who had come to honor her mother's life. Martin Scorsese arrived quietly, his face somber but composed. Dressed in a simple black suit, he clutched a folded paper, his eulogy. As he took his place among the front rows, the room seemed to sense the weight of what was to come. She was a flame that never went out, Scorsese's emotional eulogy. When it came time for Scorsese to speak, the crowd rose in silent respect. What followed wasn't just a speech, it was a cinematic moment in real life. His voice trembled slightly as he began. When I think of Diane, I don't just think of an actress, I think of a spirit, a force, someone who reminded us that art isn't about fame, it's about truth. His words filled the church with quiet sobs. Scorsese spoke about their early encounters in the 1970s, during the golden age of New Hollywood, a time when creativity ruled and boundaries were meant to be broken. He recalled how Diane's intensity and empathy shaped the energy of every set she stepped on. She didn't perform, he said softly. She lived every line, every scene. You couldn't direct Diane. You could only watch her bring the script to life, and thank God you were lucky enough to witness it. As he paused, Laura Dern, her daughter, could be seen wiping her tears, whispering thank you toward the podium. A friendship rooted in art and humanity. Martin and Diane had shared decades of friendship. Their paths often crossed, at film festivals, charity events, and intimate gatherings celebrating cinema. They weren't collaborators in the traditional sense, but they shared a profound creative understanding. Scorsese revealed in his tribute that Diane had been one of the first people to call him after the release of Taxi Driver, sending him a handwritten note that read, "You didn't just make a film, Marty, you made a mirror. Thank you for showing us what we look like when we forget who we are." That message stayed pinned in his office for years. "She had this way of making you feel seen," Scorsese said. "Even when you were doubting yourself, Diane would look you in the eye and remind you of your purpose. That's rare, not just in this business but in life." Hollywood's heartfelt goodbye. The funeral wasn't merely a ceremony, it became a gathering of legends. Among those present were Meryl Streep, Robert De Niro, Jack Nicholson, Jane Fonda, Reese Witherspoon, and Francis Ford Coppola. Each looked visibly emotional, as memories of Diane were shared throughout the service. Meryl Streep, who had once called Ladd one of the last truly fearless performers, hugged Scorsese tightly after his speech. De Niro, standing nearby, bowed his head as he whispered, "We'll miss her, Marty. We really will." As the choir sang Amazing Grace, the crowd joined hands, a symbol of unity in their shared grief. Outside, hundreds of fans gathered, holding candles and photos of Diane from her most iconic roles. They cheered softly when Laura Dern stepped out, whispering words of gratitude for the overwhelming support. Scorsese's reflections on legacy. In the days following the funeral, Scorsese released a statement to Variety, elaborating on his emotional farewell. "We live in an age where attention is fleeting," he wrote. But Diane never chased attention, she chased meaning. and that's why her work will outlive all of us. He went on to say that her influence reached far beyond the screen. She taught us that empathy is the soul of performance. You can't fake that. Diane gave her audience something real, and she did it every single time. These words quickly spread across social media, where fans from around the world shared their favorite Ladd performances and quotes. Within hours, hashtags like #Diane Ladd Forever and #Scorsese Tribute began trending worldwide. Laura Dern's emotional response. Later that evening, Laura Dern shared her own reaction on Instagram, posting a black and white photo of her mother laughing on set, captioned simply, "My mother taught me how to love, to feel, to believe, and to fight for what's right. Thank you, Marty, for honoring her the way she deserved." Her words sparked an outpouring of love from fans and colleagues alike. Reese Witherspoon commented, "Diane changed the way I understood women on screen." Even younger stars like Florence Pugh and Zendaya paid tribute, crediting Diane Ladd's performances as a source of inspiration. The moment that stopped Hollywood. During the final moments of the funeral, as the casket was carried out, Scorsese placed a single white rose on top and whispered something only those close could hear. Later, a friend of the director revealed what he said. "Thank you for showing us how to feel." That sentence, though simple, captured the essence of Diane Ladd's impact. For many, the moment recalled scenes from Scorsese's own films, raw, poetic, and drenched in emotion. It wasn't scripted, yet it carried the weight of an entire generation saying goodbye to one of its brightest lights. Fans around the world react. Across the globe, tributes poured in. Film students held candlelight vigils in New York and London. Cinemas replayed Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore as a memorial screening. On X, formerly Twitter, one fan wrote, "Martin Scorsese crying at Diane Ladd's funeral. That's not just Hollywood mourning, that's history closing a chapter." Another added, "She taught us all to live truthfully in front of the camera. No one did it like Diane." The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences also released a statement calling her a timeless performer whose humanity will continue to inspire generations of storytellers. The legacy she leaves behind. Diane Ladd's career spanned more than 6 decades, earning her 3 Academy Award nominations and countless accolades. Yet beyond awards, her legacy lies in the emotional honesty she brought to every role. She wasn't afraid to portray flawed, complex women, mothers, dreamers, survivors, all with equal dignity. Scorsese summed it up perfectly in his tribute. "When you watched Diane act, you didn't see technique, you saw truth. She made the screen human." Her influence extended to her daughter, Laura Dern, whose own career has carried the torch of emotional depth and courage. Together, they even made history as the first mother-daughter duo to both receive Oscar nominations in the same year. A final goodbye. As the ceremony came to an end, a light drizzle began to fall over the cemetery. A soft, cinematic farewell that seemed almost too perfect. Scorsese lingered for a while, staring at the gravestone before finally walking away with De Niro by his side. Cameras captured the moment, but no one dared to interrupt. It wasn't a director leaving a scene, it was a friend saying goodbye. Hollywood's everlasting memory. In the days since, Scorsese has reportedly begun organizing a small documentary project dedicated to Diane Ladd's life and artistry, featuring memories from actors and directors who worked with her. While unconfirmed, insiders say it's something he feels deeply compelled to do. As one producer close to him noted, Martin has always believed cinema is memory, and he doesn't want Diane's memory to fade. Whether or not that project sees the light of day, one thing is certain: Diane Ladd's influence will echo across generations. Her performances, her words, and her spirit will remain immortal. And thanks to Martin Scorsese's moving farewell, her story now has a final chapter worthy of her legacy. A goodbye that became a lesson. In his closing lines at the funeral, Scorsese offered a message that resonated with everyone present, and now with the world. If you ever find yourself wondering what it means to make art, think of Diane. Think of her courage, her compassion, her fire. Because that's what cinema, and life, is all about. As he stepped down from the podium, the audience rose in a standing ovation, not for a film, but for a life that had touched them all. And for a moment, Hollywood stood still.